this afternoon panel, Cripping Performance. Thank you very much, SNG Drama, for hosting us and for Boršnikovo Srećanje. It's very, so also Cripping Performance issue volume 2 just came out. I can also show it to you. This is the issue. It's a continuation of the issue that Sasha Asentic and Pia Brezaušček, my predecessor at Maska, conceived and conceptualized. And before we go into introduction, I want to thank everybody for coming and also people who are watching through streaming. And we will go as a convention is for accessible venues. We first introduce ourselves through our visual descriptions. So I would start with, my name is Jaka. I have curly brown hair. I am wearing a blue long shirt and trousers, beige trousers and white shoes. And I'm relatively skinny and tall. And we can go and with Milesa. Hello.
Hi everyone, my name is Milesa. I identify myself as a woman. I have blonde hair until my chin. I have a black shirt and a black t-shirt and green shirt and green trousers and black sneakers. And I also have black earrings, which are different size. My my left earring is smaller than my right, and I am nearly 50 years old, and I'm white.
Ciao ciao. Is this okay? Okay, perfetto. So my name is Diana, and I'm from Italy, and I am 1 meter and 60 tall. This is what I say, but actually it's 1 meter 58. But I think we can sit with the lie all together. And I have a white T-shirt from, I don't know, a festival in Czech Republic, but I cannot pronounce what I have. This is like poser T-shirt. And then I have brown trousers, very baggy, which I stole from my wife. And once used to be yellow shoes. And that's it. I'm slim, I'm white-skinned, I have dark curly hair, and I have a piercing in my nose that is called the septum. See. Me with Daniel, who now will introduce himself, we did perform yesterday night, so maybe, yeah, because I recognize some faces here. So yes, here we are.
My name is he has an interpreter, and I speak in English. I have a white T-shirt and trousers, brown, and also shoes, black. I have glasses. He has also hair on top of the eyeglasses. That's it.
Hello, my name is Sasha. I am a male presenting, non-disabled white person. I am 49 years old, and when I stand, I am 187 centimeters tall. I have black and gray hair. I let it grow in the last 2 months, so it's a bit also wavy. And I'm also wearing transparent plastic frames, my glasses. And I'm also today, actually, I'm wearing a light green loose t-shirt, light blue jeans, and light gray sneakers with some black and neon green stripes. And also on my left thigh, I am holding the new issue of Maska. Very happy about it. And also my mobile phone, where I have some notes. So if I will be like looking at the screen, just to know that I'm checking my notes, but also because my phone is on, because my colleague Dalibor Shandor, who is performing at 7, in case that he needs me, because I'm in the role of his personal assistant here also, so I'm also available.
Okay, thank you. So as I have, so as I have started, this is the continuation of the first first issue of this 2-issue series of Maska. It was conceptualized and conceived by Sasha Asentic, who is a dramaturg, a choreographer, and also a founder of Perart Art Center. And by Pia Brzauszek, who was my predecessor at Maska, and she's also a writer, philosopher, and they conceptualized this first issue somewhere last summer, I guess, quite some time ago. And in this meantime, a lot of things have changed. Actually, there are obviously some venues have recognized have started to make venues more accessible. But from my point of view as an editor, it seems also important not just of also of translating terms, cripping terms. One of them is, let's say, crip time, which Sasha and Pia were following when they decided also to do 2 issues in order to make more time for people to be able to produce the articles, the contributions. But also there are a lot of different terms, terminologies that is very important to be translated in Slovenian. And when I edited these issues, I found that like in the second issue, I was very much like they were very close to me already. Like when you start, when you read the words a few times, you start to use it. It's not about telling people what they should, what words they should use, but more of like getting the feeling of how we can use the language to make our space, to imagine like a different way, a different possible future, and like a more inclusive future. So this terminology is very important, and in this issue we worked a lot around the terminology with translators, with proofreaders, with everybody. So we learned a lot, and also I think it's very important also to be able to present this issue in such a context. Also, a lot of authors in the issue say how in the history of theater, a lot of times people with disabilities were represented, but they were not actually seen as actual people with, so they were more like Milesa states in her article, they were carriers of meaning more than actual people with their own histories and with their own lived experience. And currently we are witnessing a sort of progress in this direction. So it's not just people with disabilities as carriers of meaning for within dramatic texts, and it's more than even just inclusion, but actually also a lot of people with disabilities are running the organizations with art organizations and cultural organizations. And for that reason, we also decided with Sasha for this issue to also include a section called Creep Solidarities. In this section also, it includes a lot of different dialogues. It's more dialogical format. It's not so much academic. But also Diana and Daniel, who are with us here today, they also contributed dialogue about how they met. So it's also very important how these communities can propel, how they can keep on existing, and how they form. And it's very important to learn how they form solidarities within the local context and as well as the global context. So we included a lot of different dialogues from cultural workers, and artists with disabilities from Croatia, from Norway, or even from China, and that way we can also compare and learn what kind of conditions they have in various parts of the world and what ways they keep solidarity. And maybe I would pass the word to Sasha from here now. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jaka, for this lovely introduction and reminding us also on the beginnings and collaborations that span over these two issues. I would maybe just add, because I believe it is important to add because of the title, Cripping Performance, and the importance of terminology that you said, to say that all the authors that were invited for this issue and for the previous issue, it was also important that we invited those who contribute to the critical term crip and what it means, cripping performance. So in that sense, both of these issues of Maska are really important contribution because predominantly it is the term is shaped and defined in English-speaking contexts, and Maska is bilingual, so it also allows in English language to share all this knowledge and experiences, lived experiences from different contexts that authors come from to contribute to the examination and shaping of the term crip itself. And as well then with Slovenian version, it also then has a very, as you say, important impact on the local and the scene and the cultural context in Slovenia. I'm saying this because the term crip is political and cultural identity, and also a movement led by and coming from disabled communities that are critically addressing ableism in society, in art and culture. So you mentioned that when we were working on this issue, we had like 3 working sections, let's say. You mentioned one that we called Crip Solidarity. And I would like to mention also the 2 others that we had as a working focuses. It is Crip Techniques in Performing Arts. And Milesa is one of the authors that we invited to contribute under that focus. And Crip Epistemologies, which I somehow think that actually both Maskas and all these focuses, actually they contribute to Crip Epistemologies because of the knowledge that comes from the lived experience of disability and deafness that then comes through these practices and then is articulated as knowledge that is then carried in these issues.
Maybe we would start, maybe I have some questions, so maybe I'm very interested in some aspects of your contributions, so maybe I can ask a question and then we just go free styling. But I would maybe just ask Melissa, so Melissa wrote an article called, so in English, This Giselle, or Writing the Self as an Act of Resistance to Disabling, a Feminist Disability Gaze. And it's about a performance called This Giselle, right? So Giselle is a very classical character in ballet. And when I was mentioning that we have a certain dramatic canon and a canon of characters, so I think this is like a good example of how in the history of theater people with various, so maybe my question would be, how does this performance, this Giselle, creep, how does it creep the, like this canonical character of Giselle, and how does the artist, so artist's name is, yes, how does she deconstruct, or what ways of deconstruction of this character is she portraying in this performance, and how does she, doing this, how does she creep the character itself? Or you can also start more general.
Actually, I have to say that I didn't watch ballet Giselle.
The original.
And I actually, but I read about Giselle, of course, on the internet, because I had to see what the difference is, what the difference is with Giselle and this Giselle. And I don't know, do you know, but Giselle is a classical ballet, and she is a poor, she is in love with Prince, yeah. And, but he, in one point, they are in love in some point, but then he betrays her and marries with some noble girl, and she dies. And in this Giselle is actually the Jelena Stefanovska. She wanted to make her own Giselle, and she transformed it totally. The thing is that people with disability historically were not the creators of the art. Disability is present in the art, but only as a narrative
Prosthesis.
Yeah.
Prosthesis.
I have some difficulties. So, and disability was in art only to be some opposite to the main character. It has, as Jaka mentioned, that disability only was a metaphor of unpowered, powerless people, and which increases the power and some maybe would
Characteristics.
characteristics on the main character, but the fact that Jelena is on the stage, and Jelena is the woman with Down syndrome, is the act of resistance. And my work was, I wrote from the perspective of the feminist disability theory. And from that case, I found that Jelena, when we see person with disability, we usually have some presumptions about, and we have some thoughts about that woman, that person is usually unreasonable, that he has not some wishes. Usually women with disability do not have choice, do not have, actually we are facing with taking off the right to choose whatever in our life. But Jelena put herself in all situations that are usually we translated off from women with disabled women. So she says for herself, I'm a beautiful girl. And she's posing and she's dancing. And especially in audio described performance, we imagine her on her own terms. When we see disabled person, we usually think that is not beautiful. But in audio described version, when she says, I'm beautiful, you have to imagine that she is beautiful. And we also are facing, disabled women are also are facing with prejudice that we are not sexual beings or that we are presexual. But you see Jelena as a sexual, desirable woman. And she does that repeat because, and I have to say that maybe Jelena, no, maybe, probably, Jelena is not feminist. But what she does has very feminist impact, social impact. And that was very interesting for me. And let me check my notes.
Maybe this, sorry. Can I have one sub-question?
Yeah.
So I would ask like this, this term of writing the self or inscribing, maybe also we could say inscribing the self or writing the self into the character, which means that actual her experience, so Jelena's experience, was put into the character, but also the character itself, like Giselle itself, was kind of, because Giselle is obviously, she's a girl who falls in love and then she gets her heart broken and she suffers and she's portrayed as suffering, right? And Jelena was not portraying her as directly suffering. She also portrayed her as wanting and like a sexual being and a person who still has strivings, who still has wishes, who still has, right? So it's also turning the Giselle as a character around a little bit through her own experience. Like this inscribing. If we say, let's say, creep as a concept, creep which had a negative meaning at first, creep was, right, Sasha, was firstly negative, and then it also gives a different connotation to the character by lived experience. So yes, and the second thing also feminist theory often claims that body and mind are, right, you also state that body and mind are not separate, that there is no transcendence, but you say that some transcendence must exist also for women with disabilities because they need that transcendence, you know, as an act of survival. Or that's a very interesting part for me. So you can also go.
Feminist disability theory actually transforms disability theory, feminist theory, because as you said, feminism says that there is no dichotomy between mind and body, but Susan Randall, which is one of the first feminist disabled feminists, says that women with disability sometimes has to transcend body from mind from a body because of pain, because sometimes other people are we need to
Kaji, I can help maybe with translation.
Yeah, but I cannot remember on Syrian. I'm literally trying to manipulate.
Ako. Sometimes the environment or people that we are in relation with manipulate with our bodies or
like people who help us to dress ourselves, to go to the bathroom, or maybe some medical workers when in medical model of disability. We are usually faced with situations where medical doctor says, you have to stand here and our students will watch you and learn from your body. And nobody asks us for our permission. And we are facing with staring on the streets, and sometimes, and very often actually, we have to remind ourselves, I'm not my body, I'm somewhere else. And that is what also feminist disability theory says, that sometimes we just have to transcendence. And Yana is also, when she is betrayed, she also says that she died and that she becomes a sad nature. And that is very interesting point spot in her performance because she does not escape from her disability. She wants to escape from, she actually refuses to remain fixed with a painful body that society wants to fix, to erect. And she has also that urge, to become a nature to just go from her own body. And yeah.
Maybe we can continue with Diana and Daniel. Do you have any question, Sasha? Would you like
No,
to
I think
continue?
it's good that we continue so we can maybe come back, but to
We can
also have chance, as you
Yes,
suggest.
we
Yeah,
can,
please.
We can come back later to that. So yes, Daniel and Diana, you have a dialogue in this issue. You probably so you describe in this dialogue how you two got to know each other. Diana, you say that you saw Daniel on television the first time, actually. I think that's at the start. But then, or not at the television, because you say that televisions didn't have, in times of COVID, they didn't have programs with sign language. But streaming platforms did, or YouTube, or stuff like that, right? So that's an interesting emphasis. But I'm very interested, so after this first getting to know each other, so then you got to know each other so how you two got to know each other, how you started to collaborate, and how did you start co-creating this festival? And maybe I'm interested also where you went to different parts of the world or Europe for these festivals, and then later now you also you also contribute or co-create this festival in Italy called Repubblica Sorda, right?
Exactly.
So I'm like interested in all of this path from how you two got to know each other and then how you got to collaborate on this festival, and what this kind of festival that is accessible has to have. You know, what it has to offer, what it has to have. Yeah.
Allora. So we knew each other first time like 5 years ago, and actually, Jacka, you're right. First time I saw Daniel was on television, but not because he was on the national television yet, but it was because it was the COVID, and I thought it was interesting to write this in the article that during the COVID in Italy, which hit hard. I don't know how was the situation here in Slovenia, but in Italy it was like big gas problem, etc., etc. And we couldn't get out of the houses for like 2, 3, no, I don't even remember how many months, but it was really strict in Italy. Comunque, and by that time, which was 2020, sign language, Italian sign language was not recognized as an official language by the Italian government. So, of course, we had no program in sign language, which we still do not have, even though sign language has been recognized now, whatever, we are still waiting. So what happens? One form of this Crip solidarity that I thought about was that during that period, there was like plenty of streams of deaf people saying stuff, like, for example, interviews or whatever, a lot of streams on YouTube, or no, I don't remember the other channels, but in the article I listed everything. And so during one of those streams that I connected to the television, which thing my mom is very grateful I did, and we could see various deaf artists that were like, hello, my name is Papapa, I live in Papapa, I do this, I do that. And then there was Daniel as well. This is the first time I saw him during this live stream. And then after COVID and after everything, we got to meet each other during an European project that was called Beyond Science, in which we started to collaborate, but we didn't choose each other, like we ended up in the same project. And then after that project, we started performing together because the bond was done. And yes, and we performed in both deaf venues and hearing venues. For example, yesterday is an example of hearing venue, but we also went to deaf places because across Europe there are deaf-owned venues, and maybe the most famous is in Paris. It's called IVT, EVT, and is run by Emmanuelle Laborie, who's the first deaf woman to have won the Molière Prize. It's a very important prize in theater. Like time ago. And actually the sequel kind of closes because now for Repubblica Sorda we invited her to perform this November. So it's also very nice because I remember, I remember growing up with her book in my home. It's called The Cry of Seagull. Original title is Le Cri de la Mouette. And yes, and also Daniel told me she grew up with that book, and then she's like a superstar in the deaf world. And then she invited us to perform in Paris, And now we have the chance to invite her back, even though she's like 60-year-old, super cool woman. So this is also another way of Crip solidarity, deaf solidarity that I wanted to start with in the article. And of course, solidarity is not only about doing live streams, but it was nice because like you could really see a community getting virtually together, how to cope with this thing that we cannot go outside of our homes. And for example, my situation, I was living with my mother. Back then, she is deaf, so I could communicate in sign language. But other people, for example, Daniel's family, but also plenty of deaf people, they have hearing, not signer families. So I think that COVID hit differently for them because they couldn't have in the home a person who signed. So, esatto. This for saying, well, now I will just give a little. Oh, see.
Mike.
Sorry.
They met. They met and start to collaborate. And the feeling, yeah, they have feeling that they can show the disability, and they start to show that, so they understand, the other could understand how important and how powerful are together in the community. And they have their own language. And that they have to develop this and grow together. There is a strong connection also in school of deaf. And there is a possibility for deaf. Now they understand how can change community and together, and they made the connections, different connections. They want to show that across the Europe and also in Italy, and made several, for example, festival. Festival Rea. That is Festival of Deaf. They saw a lot of deaf people. There was 5 festivals with many deaf people. A lot of the people are here gathered. They can communicate in sign language, and there is a feeling that they are connected and they are happy, and people can see the signing, and they start to think the festival is in fact in Italy, but festival is very important also across Europe for deaf people. They didn't nista izumila oziroma si izmislila, nista si ona dva to izmislila. I. There's Indven, thank you. There is one the name Lilia Daminadi. Lilian Daminadi is who invented this in festival. That was the name of the inventor of this festival. The name is very hard to pronounce, but when they went to other countries, when they went in another countries, they spread the word about this, and all around Europe, the deaf people saw and can see this concept of these festivals, and the society is together with hearing and non-hearing people. And also it is shown how can deaf people act, how can perform also as non-hearing people. And we can show how deaf people communicate, how to talk to each other. And there is also elements of this script performance. And they show different aspects of this. Yes. For example, they can show or perform the different aspects of this performance. They talk and give some thoughts. In accordance, in this festival is for deaf people, Deaf Republic, is very important that that this festival contact hearing and non-hearing society, and they bring closer. And that is very good example for the hearing people, how to perform. And also there is also an interpreter who can interpret, who can present the, and so the deaf people can give the hearing people, and they can give many examples or many performance where can show that they can perform. They share their thoughts, and as they enjoy, also the public enjoy the performance. I think that is very powerful connection for that can give and show different people how can be how can be successful collaboration, cooperation, and also can show to the world the beautiful colors.
Yes, and I will shortly add how we came to Repubblica Sorda, beside the origins of the title and everything Daniel said. And well, I think because Yaka, you also asked, like, what's the good things to do to make a festival accessible, right? So to answer about this, since Daniel before said the deafness, compared to other disability, the deafness is also a bearer of a culture because it's its own language and culture, history, traditions, etc., etc., which is really interesting because it's like the whole concept of deafness is like having to do with a culture that doesn't have a territory because it's spread all around the world. So it's like it's like the Jew before what they did. So it's like you have this community and culture of people that don't have a territory and they are spread all around the world, and they don't have a birthplace because all the world is their birthplace, but yet they share the same language somehow because, as you know, we have national sign languages, but also what Daniel is doing now and Dasha is doing now, they are using international signs, which is like Esperanto, circa, it's like so we have all of this culture, we have this language, we have artistic expression that only exists within the concept of sign languages, because like, for example, we can say, yes, we have song in sign language, okay, cool, but still the song is a concept from the hearing world, which is super cool, but it's from the hearing world. And then we have, just to give you an example, and then we have concepts that are proper of sign languages and have no equal in the hearing world, and it's a long list, but I can say, for example, visual vernacular, visual sign, etc., 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 etc. Because of course, if you have a group of people who share a language, and this group is really, really spread all around the planet, of course, artistic form will arise from this, of course, because where you have language, then you have culture. And when you have culture, then you have cultural expressions. Like, you cannot escape this. So what we wanted to do was, we were also lucky because we were given the means, the money to do this. We were given this. So thank you to the people who gave us the money. And, And I was proposed to have the artistic direction of this festival, and Daniel is working with me. And what we thought was like, okay, it's not about making an already existing festival accessible from a deaf point of view, even though this is super important, and this is also part of what we are fighting for. But for us, what was important was also to create a festival that dramaturgically was created from a deaf perspective. So in this festival, we have deaf shows, we have deaf theater, deaf visual sign, deaf visual vernacular, deaf bim bum bam, everything that is like a deaf gaze, which is exactly the exact word, like a deaf gaze, that is the engine of the festival. And for us, the question is now, do we make it accessible? Ha ha ha. Because like, of course, we made it accessible, and but then it's interesting because I think deafness, it's in a position where it can decide where to make it accessible to the majority. Usually it's like the other way around. It's like the majority that is like, oh my God, I need to make me accessible for the minority because my heart is so pure, blah, 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 blah. Okay, va bene. Not everybody, of course, but this is the... and for us, the question was, do we invest the small money we have to make it accessible for hearing people? Well, yes, we had to, because it's a majority of people. So it's interesting because we were confronted also with this measure of reversing the accessibility, having to pay interpreters for the hearing people, and all of this stuff. And at the moment, it's the only festival that is Italy-based, deaf-led, and the philosophy we are trying to bring is that we only program deaf people, not because it's something like we don't want to have hearing artists, but because the stages for hearing people are all around the world, up and down, destra, sinistra, su, giù, and the stages for deaf people in Italy we don't have. So yes. And this is also a way to foster the deaf solidarity, because in 2 days we had 400 deaf people coming in 2 days, which was great, and in Roma. And also as a way to foster deaf solidarity, because as I was talking with Sasha yesterday, and also with Daniel, yesterday night there were like some deaf people watching the show, and Dasha and Maya were the sign language interpreters, and all of those people came because they wanted to come, and also because I think community creates community. And I think this is like really the power of this thing of solidarity and community. It's like it gets bigger and it gets thicker. And this is exactly why, and now I will finish. And for those who saw the performance, this is exactly why one of the colonialist instruments of dismantling stuff is dismantling communities. This is exactly why. I mean, I will die on this hill. Okay, fine.
Thank you. Maybe I would go on, so we did not want, we said we want one section, Crip Solidarities, but we didn't want exactly to name the sections explicitly within because also I also felt that Milesa's contribution also was in solidarity. You wrote in a way, it expressed for me also solidarity, because you are speaking about like this feedback loop also, about like her performance informing your writing, and you are trying to offer a novel outlook on feminist, feminist, what do you call it? Feminist theory, disability theory, right? So you try to also offer a fresh outlook, and maybe I would go more into this solidarity. So how is it maybe for artists and cultural workers in Serbia with disabilities? How is and maybe also if Sasha wants to add something, because I know that you have experience from there, and if you want to also share about the situation in Serbia, how are the just specific circumstances for creation and is it getting better or not? Around that, yes.
Well, unfortunately, I'm afraid that solidarity in Serbia is not so developed in disability community. I have to say something as a director of a film festival, Here's the Film. Here's the Film is a film festival about disability. And we are the most accessible film festival in Serbia because our films are subtitled with SDH titles. And we always have a sign interpreter for speaking part of the program. And we also make audio description and synchronization for films. But somehow, and we always send invitation to Association of Disabled, Association of Deaf, Association of Blind People, and we say, you probably have your list of contact of your members. Please let them know that there is an accessible film festival for deaf and blind, but we usually have 1 to 2 deaf person in audience or 5 blind. And so I think that, I don't know why, but maybe it has something with money. I don't know. I think that if there was more solidarity, that we would have some
Common struggle or fighting together?
Yeah, fighting together to improve all the artistic scene in
Art scene.
Yeah, art scene in Serbia. So actually what we do in the Film Festival, we usually invite artists from Serbia to perform for us. We have feeling that is high production, that unfortunately we, for me, solidarity is to pay the artist with disability the same way the some other artists without the ability. And unfortunately, we have so little funds, so I don't want to invite disabled artists to perform without some fair honorar for it. For me, that is solidarity. I probably, I know that some artists would probably aim to our festival, even that I said we cannot pay you, but I don't want to have that proxy. Yeah.
Maybe I can add that in Serbia, but I think also broader. But what I want to say is that what we are talking about or addressing as a obstacle or different understanding of solidarities in different communities that are struggling for their causes is one thing that it is important to understand solidarity also in terms of social struggle of disabled and deaf communities. Because often these struggles in the systems in which we live and create our artistic work and belong to different cultural scenes, it is normalized that these are all in different compartments, and that everybody is then busy with their struggle. And in that sense, solidarity then, because of the ableist regimes that shape these activities, then leave out the importance of solidarity with the struggle of disabled and deaf communities. And in Serbia, at the same time, we have a very strong expression in public of solidarity with student protests, farmers joining the protests, workers joining the protests, which even was not the case with the most famous 68 protests where those protests didn't manage to hold the solidarity between farmers, students, workers, and others. So we don't even know about this, what is going on in Serbia, exactly because it is systematically eliminated from the public, that we would know about it, and then to be in solidarity with these causes. And then when it comes to disability again, and we tried, both Milesa and I and other disabled and non-disabled colleagues, to also bring in discussions in relation to the current protests, what it means to think in solidarity of the broader movement for change. And then where does the struggle of disabled and deaf people with their cultural and artistic scenes, actors or festivals take place. And like for me, it's important to insist that we recognize when we need to insist that these connections are cherished and supported, because that's where, for me, solidarity is actually the revolutionary process.
Thank you. Okay, maybe I would pass on the word to our audience. If anybody has any questions, I still have some questions, but maybe if somebody else has a question, you are very warmly invited to ask it. Oh.
Okay, super. Okay, first of all, it's really inspiring to hear everything. Okay, I can be here and I can speak louder. Yeah, of course. It's okay like this? Super. Thanks everyone to be here. It's really inspiring. The performance yesterday was amazing. Congratulations. And the lecture, and really to be here, it's a pleasure. And I was just wondering, especially for both of you, about, I think you mentioned the name of the festival, Sorda Record? Sorda República, yeah. And for me, the question that is in my mind is if you were related with the artistic world before, did you imagine yourself doing something artistic in the future, or for now is something that you didn't expect, but it's like a social and revolutionary tool? Seveda. Yeah. It's mostly if they were having some connections to the artistic scene before, if they were doing something about cinema or theater, or they thought first about their story and that they really wanted to change something, and then this artistic was a second step, or if it was first step.
Prvi korak sva midva. Sorry. I'm Slovene Sign Language interpreter.
It's okay.
Sorry. Can you repeat? Our first step was we have possibilities also before in deaf organizations, so we can show torej informiranje, informing the deaf people and in the deaf community so they can perform that. Also, there was the goal that they do the deaf festival for deaf people, because deaf people didn't have, and there was no festival before. And they start this festival, establish the festival so they can perform, but there was a problem to get the finances for these festivals, but they wanted to, they show also how important is the solidarity, and they show also the possibility that the deaf people can contribute. And they start to getting the funds, so they start to write, and before Republika Sorta, there was no such a festival, so they start to this festival so they can show to the society how deaf people can work, show the deaf people can also do, and all this they show to the hearing people. And they also invite the hearing people, so that was also in the sense of, so they get they get a possibility in the society for this festival. Deaf people can deaf people can now they can alone deaf people alone can show or make these performances now. I want to say something important, that importance of this festival. We have also the goal. They have also the important goal. They want to share solidarity. Solidarity for those who want to meet, who wants to get know and give the possibility of access. And also to give the possibility to think about this Cripping performance and the accessibility to the culture. And they know that they can show this, and that is one possibility. And Diana? Pasmoi. That is surname. They want to show, they both want to show. I me predstave, eto. Aha, učirivla, sorry. They perform a lot in Italy, and at first they didn't understand that, but they want to show how they have subtitles. Yes, they have subtitles. And then give the sign language, signing. And then there was also the interpreter here in Slovenia. That is, they give a possibility that people thinking about this, and they don't want to make their performance as adjusting, but they want to perform as they perform. Now they have possibility to say that he is a person, that he has also the words, the voice. But that is depends on the perspective and accessibility of this festival of deaf. Deaf person can show that is me. And the word not accessibility is not an option anymore. We have to think very good about this accessibility. How we give the information and the accessibility. Okay, thank you. I think I was too long.
No, thank you. Super.
Okay, thank
Daniel
you.
just reminded me the question because I lost myself. To also give an answer from my side, and I of course agree with everything that Daniel said, and so which is also the professionalization of the deaf artist. I like to set an example because like he was saying in Italy, like as you also were mentioning about the money problem, I mean the word money problem, and many deaf people, they are not paid for their job, it's the same old story. So we try to set an example by paying the people we invite, the deaf people we invite, I mean. So it's, I think, for the deaf community, what we aim is to create a sort of benchmark. Now I'm speaking like we want to create a benchmark, whatever. But we would like to create like a benchmark, as I said, for the deaf community, that they have something in Italy, they professional, something they can aspire to. And I know this may sound very presumptuous because like, I'm just, I'm young, we are young, but actually this is what it is in Italy. And also we would like to activate the community because as I said before, it's a very strong community, like that community is very strong. But of course, now I don't want to be boring by saying like, once upon a time, but it's true, before internet, the community was more community. And after Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, the community is more spread. And now, I don't want to sound like my mother, back to my times, whatever. But this is a fact. And so what also we would like to do with the festival is to have a space for this community to bodily get together. Because we FaceTime all the time, but to bodily get together, that's something else. And questo, and also the concept of Repubblica Sorda draws from, yes, the book, but also draw from the very basis of Republic, because as we know, Republic, ancient Greece, etc., they did really believe in the agora, which was the square in which everybody, in which people were invited to talk about city matters, etc. And what made the Greek cities like this nest for democracy was also the presence of theater as a glue in the society. So we thought about, but why don't we take this very classical thinking and we give it a new shape, but based on a deaf perspective. So actually, like solidarity is the glue in this case. And I do see, now I don't want to, again, but I do see that this idea of solidarity is being attacked on many, many, many fronts. Is being attacked because if you talk about solidarity, then you're naive, you're childish, you're stupid, and you know, in this neoliberalist or whatever, the main goal is to be, what's the word? Come si dice? Independent? This is not the word, but like... Yeah, selfish, but like you have to do it on yourself.
You need to be...
Hai capito?
Yeah.
You also in the studio, right? Yeah, perfect. And
autonomous and self...
self-centric, I don't know how to say. It's like self-centric, and you have to do it alone. And like there is this thinking in society that is shameful to need for somebody else. Like, and of course you take this and you apply to whatever. It's shameful to be a disabled person who needs someone else or something else. It's shameful that you cannot do it on your own. This is shameful. And they teach us, it's shameful, it's shameful. And I think this is really one of the, I don't know, now I sound like conspiracy theory, but I am convinced this is one of the tools through which the higher powers, no, I'm joking, but like it's a tool through which this neoliberalist and very self-centric and independentist and etc. is to dismantle that solidarity. And I don't know, when you try to talk about solidarity, helping each other, and it really looks stupid. So I think it's very important that we resist to this narration. And I think that if people think it's bullshit to build a whole festival on the idea to make the community be more solidale between each other, this is exactly the reason why we should do it, I think. I got some words wrong, whatever, but we understood each other.
Thank you. Yeah, so one more question.
Sorry.
Can we take time for one more episode and for the
Hello. Hello, my name is Mojca, and I would like to thank you first to Sasha for a nice seminar yesterday and to really a touchable performance yesterday. Now, when you talked, Diana, about this feeling about shamefulness, you know, to be shameful, it was opposite yesterday because it touched us a lot, and we were talking yesterday that your performance is putting us the mirror that the people who has everything should be shameful. Because it's really, how to say, with all your comfortable way of living, if you are people with non-disability, sometimes you forgot about the others, about the other perspective, you know? And it was so beautiful to perceive, see, and hearing the silence. Thank you. It was really touchable. And thank you, Maska and Borshnik, that you are opening this kind of theme, because it's really important. When I communicate with, the last month, I communicate with 32 organizations, because I'm leading also the festival, the platform of contemporary dance, and we are partner also of the Borshnik. And I was calling and communicate on email with 32 organizations and persons. These organizations was connected with somehow of disability field, you know. Maribor, Slovenia, Ljubljana, Celje, whatever, Vipava, all over Slovenia. I noticed that it's such a, it was not so, and I presented the program of 2 days, and the reaction of president of the Deaf People Society or Down Syndrome Society, you know, I mean, I will not now, etc., was like, yeah, we are interested, but. So my question is how we can raise in Slovenia that community who are dealing with people with disability, that we can raise input for the art, you know? Because art is very important and considered to the political situation, which will be almost the same like in Serbia now with new government. I'm scared. And so cultural institution, like on national level or NGOs, it's our responsibility that we are dealing with all these thematics, you know? Because the interest in this society for the art is very low in Slovenia. For sports, yes. So thank you that we are talking about that now.
If I can say just, I feel like I just want to respond briefly because it's not enough only to talk about it and give like a small space within the mainstream festival as like a side program for whatever like motivations and reasons. It's important to act and it's important to, when we talk about solidarity, it is about collective action. It's not about depoliticizing the term of solidarity in under neoliberal conditions, as Diana was saying. And we need to be aware of this. And we as non-disabled actors in the cultural field, we need to work on providing conditions in which disabled and deaf artists, scholars, cultural workers, activists would be in positions to create festivals like Republika Sorda or like Seize the Film Festival, which are two unique festivals in Europe, one in Italy, one in Serbia, and they are both disability and deaf-led festivals. So that is also where solidarity plays a role, that we as non-disabled people who have access to all these positions, like I was invited to do this. Jaka has now his position as a chief editor. Here we have also people who have leading positions. You just said you are leading the platform. So and it's great that we are in this room, and it's great that we have these two issues. So there is a lot already that happened in like a year. But like, it's always important to remind ourselves that it's not enough because it will not act on its own. And we need to really see in our positions how to redistribute the means that we have, that it goes to the community or communities where the leading positions already are existing and struggling to survive, so that we can create environments where this can develop, and then the existing communities that are all oppressed and hidden can then emerge in formats like, for example, these festivals or some other, even new formats that we cannot even imagine how the festival can look like, or how the performance can look like, or how the journal can look like, and so on.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can conclude with that. You are also all are very invited to the next performance, right, Dalibor Shandor, this lecture on something very special, which will happen at 7. In which hall? In the below, right?
Mali Oder.
On the little stage, right? So you are all very invited to that event, and thank you all for coming, and thank you everybody for having this conversation. Thank you. Thank you.